There are moments in life when silence is wisdom and moments when silence is weakness. Stoicism teaches us the virtue of calm restraint. But it also warns us silence can become a silent killer of our integrity, our values, and even our peace. So today, let's talk about 7 situations when a Stoic must never remain silent. 7 moments where your voice, guided by reason and courage, becomes your greatest weapon. Listen carefully, because each of these is a test of your character, your boundaries, and your ability to live by virtue, not fear. First, when you witness injustice, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee." If someone around you is being mistreated, disrespected, or taken advantage of, and you choose to say nothing, you become complicit in that act. Stoicism is not passive acceptance. It's a rational action. Silence in the face of injustice isn't peace. It's cowardice. You don't need to shout. You don't need to fight, but you do need to stand firm. A calm, rational voice that speaks against wrong is more powerful than 1,000 angry ones. The Stoic stands for what's right, even when it's unpopular, even when it's dangerous. Because justice is not about comfort. It's about courage. Second, when your boundaries are being crossed. Stoicism teaches us to control our emotions, not suppress our dignity. If someone disrespects you, manipulates you, or constantly pushes past your limits, and you say nothing, you invite more of it. Epictetus said, "You decide the value of your own opinion." Silence here gives power to the offender. Speak up not with rage, but with clarity. Say, "This is not acceptable." Boundaries protect peace, not pride. A Stoic silence should never be mistaken for submission. You're not here to please everyone. You are here to live in accordance with reason. And reason tells you that self-respect is the foundation of virtue. Third, when you see someone lying or spreading falsehood, truth is sacred in Stoicism. Seneca said, "Truth never perishes." But when falsehood spreads and you stay silent, the lie becomes the loudest voice in the room. Whether it's gossip at work, misinformation online, or a false accusation, your silence validates deception. A Stoic doesn't engage in drama, but also doesn't allow truth to die quietly. Speak calmly, factually, and directly. Truth doesn't need aggression. It takes courage. Remember, the wise man speaks only when his words improve the silence. But when silence feeds lies, speech becomes a duty. Fourth, when you're being taken for granted in relationships, work, or friendships, if your efforts are constantly ignored and you say nothing, resentment grows silently in your chest. Stoicism teaches you not to expect recognition. Yes, but it does not ask you to tolerate disrespect. If someone keeps assuming you'll always be available, always giving, always silent, it's time to speak. A Stoic's voice is calm but firm. I value what I do, and I need to be treated with the same respect. Speaking up is not arrogance. It's awareness. You teach others how to treat you by what you allow, and silence teaches them that your time and energy mean nothing. Fifth, when your values are being compromised, there will be moments when you're pressured to do something that goes against your morals. Maybe at work, in social situations, or even with family. This is where Stoicism separates the wise from the weak. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. But what if you say nothing at all? Then you allow corruption to guide your actions." Stoicism is built on virtue, the highest good. When your integrity is on the line, silence is surrender. Speak up even if it costs you approval. You can rebuild a reputation, but you can never rebuild a broken character. Remember, virtue before validation. Sixth, when silence keeps you stuck in fear. Fear loves silence. It feeds on it. When you're afraid to ask for help, afraid to express your feelings, or afraid to stand up for yourself, silence becomes your prison. Stoicism teaches us that fear exists only in our judgment, not in the situation itself. Epictetus said, We suffer more in imagination than in reality. If you stay silent out of fear, you give that fear power. Break the silence with honesty. Ask for what you need. Speak your truth. The moment you use your voice, fear begins to shrink. Stoicism isn't about being emotionless. It's about being fearless through reason. Silence should serve peace, not panic. And finally, when your voice can inspire others. A Stoic understands that wisdom is not for hoarding. It's for sharing. If your experience, your struggle, your perspective can help someone rise, staying silent is selfish. There are people who need your story, your lessons, your strength. Marcus Aurelius didn't write Meditations for fame. He wrote it to remind himself and us how to live with purpose. If your words can guide someone out of darkness, speak, not with ego, but with empathy. The Stoic's voice is steady, grounded, and meaningful. Not loud, but clear. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more truth. So let's recap these 7 moments. When silence is not virtue, it's weakness. When you see injustice, when your boundaries are crossed, when lies are spreading, when you're taken for granted, when your values are threatened, when fear keeps you silent, and when your words can help others. In all these moments, silence betrays you. Stoicism is not about closing your mouth. It's about opening it with wisdom. Remember, silence is powerful when used to maintain inner peace, but dangerous when it protects what's wrong. Speak when truth demands it. Speak when your soul aches to be heard. Speak when silence would mean surrendering your self-respect. The Stoics lived by the idea that courage is the highest form of wisdom. And sometimes, courage simply means saying what must be said, even when your voice shakes. Never confuse peace with passivity. Never mistake calmness for cowardice. And never let fear silence your principles. The Stoic stands firm, speaks truth, and acts with integrity. You don't need to shout. You just need to stand your ground. Speak not to be right, but to be righteous. Speak not to win, but to stay true. Speak not to impress, but to express what's virtuous. Because in the end, the world may forget your silence, but it will never forget your voice that stood for truth. So the next time life tests your courage, remember this. Silence is golden only when truth is spoken through your actions. But when silence hides injustice, dishonor, or fear, it turns to rust. Be silent when words are wasted, but speak when silence is sin. That is Stoicism in action. That is strength in its purest form.